It's Honeysuckle and Rachel Blackmore, Racing's golden duo!
Tiger Roll joins the greats and beats Magic of Light.
Best behaviour on the near side with the wettest of saves for Barry Brown and Oliver McKiernan. Local trainer Derek McLaughlin again in the Manifesto. Lord Lyon wins it from...
It's Sampo on the stand side before he had the second round. Fahey lands in the lead by half a length and goes on from Sampo.
Hello and welcome to the latest episode of We're Going Chasing. Fairy House is done and dusted, and now we're looking forward to Aintree, which is starting tomorrow, and we'll have 3 good days of racing, plenty of grade ones, couple of weak, softish enough looking grade ones, mind you, but still quite exciting action all the same. And then obviously leading up to the big one Saturday evening, the Aintree Grand National. If it goes ahead, Cillian.
Yeah, they're going to try their best, aren't they? Like
They are.
Without giving them too much airtime, because they don't deserve it.
No.
Like just touching it quickly, I thought it was bad form by ITV and Good Morning Britain, the show as well. Like that they to bring on this woman that's living in her fairyland, and like she came on and she's spouting facts that are completely and utterly wrong. And like to have no sort of rebuttal in from a BHA member or even someone from ITV Racing to come in and say, right, this, I'm going to take you on this, what you've said there is completely wrong. I think that was bad form. I know the BHA have come out this afternoon and said that they or yesterday afternoon and said that they were never contacted about having anyone on the show. So I think it's bad form. First of all, the week of probably the biggest race in England of the year, to present one side of a story, and a side that it's an extreme view of a small minority of people that are completely wrong, really, when all is said and done. But I think looking at what's come out of it this morning, Sally Ann Grassick, she's on ITV Racing. They've set up a page called Stand Up for Racing on Twitter. I think we've retweeted it there as well if anyone wants to see it. But they've got a good few followers already, so they're up to nearly 1,000 now. And hope they've been put together to sort of stand up for racing when these anti-racing folk are coming out with their incorrect facts. And I think they're going to start there's a few sort of professionals within racing, breeding experts that are going to be involved in that, and it could be something that's very good. I think there's something similar down in Australia, so it's no harm to have that up here too.
I think that was badly needed, because every now and then these are always piping up early, and there's never really a solid case from the racing side as such. So that's a great thing to see. The other thing I'll say is with the person that they did have on, they went over to, I don't know who the girl was with the sharp blonde hair, but they went over to her and they asked her for her case for racing. Again, I'd never heard of her. I don't know who she is. I don't know how involved she is in racing, but she started off her argument with, and I quote, "Factually, horse racing is not a good thing for animals." That was the first line that came out of her mouth. And she was the one who was meant to be putting up the case for horse racing. Yeah,
it was a very one-sided argument. I think it was wrong the way they approached it, and yeah, it's bad form. And I think as well, they haven't covered themselves in any light anyway, ITV, and like considering they're the free to air sort of producer of racing in the UK as well. I think it's very bad form. But to go back to the woman that was on for the anti-racing, like they did try the same with the Derby last year. 4 or 5 of them lie down the track, and they were swiftly moved away, and rightly so. And I think there was an attempt at the Irish National yesterday. You were in Fairy House. Did you hear anything of that?
I didn't. No, I didn't hear anything about it.
Must have been absolutely failed and very, very badly planned. But this is the kind of people you're dealing with. Like they don't really have any any intelligence really. Like
they're against guide dogs.
I saw, they are.
That's all you need.
I saw Emmett Kennedy had a tweet up there. He did a debate with a member of PETA there a few years ago. He said, and that he basically said like without racing, like these horses wouldn't exist, and like if there is no racing, right, who's going to care for these horses, where are they going to go? And Peter were like, oh, they can just go in the fields and sort of look after themselves, and like that's a complete madness. Like these are thoroughbred racehorses that are weighted on hand and foot day in, day out by any amount of people. Do you think they're going to be able to just be thrown out in the field and left there to fend for themselves? They're not wolves, like, you know. So
should they could get injured in the field as well, just as easily.
Yeah, that's it. Like, and I think that the statistics back that up as well, that only 13% of equine injuries for race horses occur on the track. So like horses walk out in the field, stand in a stone and get lame, you know. So this is it. Really.
That's a very good stat. It's a pity they didn't have that this morning.
No.
On Good Morning Britain. But look, Cillian,
I'm available to go on Good Morning Britain at any stage anyway to discuss this. If that girl from whatever allegiance she has, I don't know what it's called, wants to come back, I'll take her on.
Anyway, look, we'll move on because they don't deserve any more of our time. And I don't know if I don't stick to the races, I could say something that I shouldn't be saying. So okay, Cillian. So yeah, we've a Savage Days race in there tomorrow. You know, we've 4 Grade 1s. We start off with the Manifesto Novices Chase. A race that had stage start towards the top of the betting this morning. I see Banbridge is joining him up there. A very small field, and I was going to say small and select, but you know, I'm not sure if that even cuts it. It's quite small, lacking in depth and possibly lacking in quality as well. You know, but where are you looking at there? You looking at the top of the market, or is there anything a bit further down?
Not fully sure, to be honest. Like Banbridge, he skipped Cheltenham, so he's coming a fresh horse. But crucially, he did travel over, so he's gone over and back on the boat, and he's come back over again only 3 weeks later. So that might take a bit of a toll on a horse as well. Stage Star, brilliant winner of the Turners. Like you might think, you say he wasn't a vintage renewal. I think he was well worth his win there. Now he jumped really well. Like the jump of the last was brilliant to put the race to bed. He's a very good horse there for Paul Nicholls. San Roy, third in the Arkle, is probably a bit to find, sort of going up and trip his runs at 2.5 miles. There's been only one really. It was in a maiden hurdle in Clonmel over 2 mile 3. He was well beaten that day. He's never really gone past it. Like he's a horse that runs keen enough at times too, so that he mightn't settle. It might be a bit of a job for Mark Walsh to get him switched off out the back. But I saw a good judge on Twitter, Declan Carroll. He was on the Understarters Orders podcast. He was talking about Visionarian today. I just spotted, so I looked into it myself, and he was 25. He's into 16s now, but he could represent a small bit of a chance to take on. I wouldn't like to go back in either the top two at 13-8, and I'd need to write off San Roy outside of that. So he's about 16-20 to 1 there. So like he's good form. He was second to San Roy Christmas. I think the step up and trip will be fine. He goes well on good ground as well, which is crucial enough. Like he was fifth in a handicap hurdle in Galway over 2 mile 7, so he stays a trip as well. Like, so I don't think that should be any problem to him. Now he's coming off a bad run in the Irish Hurdle, but we might forgive him that. But it might be worth a couple of quid at a bigger price.
Yeah, at least he's coming there fresh. The way I see this race is, first of all, Stage Star, I don't fancy his form at all. I think that last day at Cheltenham in the Turners, you know, I think the market principles didn't really perform like one would expect. Mighty Potter was well below the form that he's shown all year. Appreciated again. How good is he? And then you had a 40 to 1 shot there for Laura Morgan in second. Now Stage Star did jump very well, and he can only beat what's in front of him. But I think we even saw at Fairy House too, these horses who are coming fresh might be the ones to side with. You know, because it's not long since Cheltenham. So for that reason there, I'd nearly write off St. Roy as well. Banbridge is definitely the one that I like. You know, the trip will be perfect, the ground will be perfect. He's coming fresh. I take your point that he did travel over on the ferry, you know, but again, he didn't run crucially. But look, that's where I'm looking, Banbridge, and I wouldn't write off Visionarian either. I think that's a very good shout by Declan Carroll, followed up by yourself. You know, and I might jump on that bandwagon too, because at a huge price. You know, there's a very good case to be made. I've definitely seen worse 16-1 shots. But we'll move on again to another grade 1. Our 4-year-old juvenile hurdle, Zenta, top of the market 7-4, Boa Zenit 5-1, Nuzret 11-2. Scriptwriter a bit further down had nice form earlier on in the year. Are any of these really, does it interest you that much?
No, it's a horrendous hard race to look at. Like Zenta is very good form, only 2 lengths behind Lossiemouth in Cheltenham, but again, probably did have a hard race, had to make up a lot of ground, was held up in that race and came from the back. So maybe he's had a difficult race there. I don't know, I'd like to back him at 13-8, but like in theory you could make a case he should be a whole lot shorter than that. Like he's getting £7 from, it's a filly. So she's getting £7 from Boa Zenit and Nusret. Like she's rated 138, so it's higher than both of those. I don't know. I think she should be a lot shorter than 13-8 maybe, but I don't like backing horses off the back of a fall. But Sarsen Risk is 16-1 for Roger Brookhouse. There he was leading in the Adonis. He was travelling quite well. The race Nuzret Rowan. He fell. I think it was a 3 out. But he was going well enough. Like he was jumping pretty well. Since then, he's a big price. He's 16-1 there.
Yeah.
Again, like don't like backing them off a fall, but he's a big price compared to what Nuzret is. You don't know how that would have finished. In race and post ratings, Nuzret's Adonis win is nothing special at all. They're equating it to him coming 16 lengths behind Lossiemouth 125 in grade 2 at Christmas, and that was a grade 2 as well. So there's nothing special about the farm, but just wonder maybe would Sarsen Risk have something. He's more unexposed than these ones. He's only had the 2 runs and didn't finish out the last day. He's had a run the flat since. And came 6th, close up 6th in a handicap in Kempton off 82, but he might outrun his odds maybe.
Yeah, it's a possibility. It's not one that I'd be having given much thought to be perfectly honest with you. Up closer to the top of the market, Boa Zenit. I do think he comes here with a fair chance. He's looked quite progressive in his couple of runs since he was bought from France. He comes here fresh. If you go back to his French form as well, he had 1 run in France and he actually beat Blood Destiny by 3 lengths. Yeah, which is nice form. You know, Gary Moore knows how to deal with 4-year-olds too, really. He had a bit of a monkey there a couple of years ago, but you know, he can do well in these races. And at 5-1 coming here fresh, I'd imagine this has been the target for quite a while. They would have known that they weren't getting Cheltenham and it was all roads leading to Aintree. Whereas Zenta for the likes, you know, would have obviously been targeted more towards Cheltenham. Another one that I'd give a slight mention to is just Nuzret. Joseph could have a great week because I think he probably wins at Banbridge. Nuzret has a shout there, and Fakir Duderies goes and wins as well later on in the week. But look, we'll move on from that. We've got a great race then following up there. And again, a lot of horses, and you could nearly make a case for all of them in the Aintree Bowl. Maybe aside from Gallo. Yeah, 5 out of 6. Yeah. But out of those 5, Cillian, where are you looking?
A Plutard.
Yeah.
I am, yeah. It doesn't look good, 2 P's beside his name, but
no,
you need to look at the Gold Cup in context. Held up, traveling really well, and a high senior comes down before him. He's pulled up 2 fences after that, severely hampered him. Like, he was traveling well. Who knows where he could have finished? I don't know. Like, he would definitely not have won. But I think he'd been thereabouts with Brave Man's Game and conflated. It could have been in front of Brave Man's Game, could have been between him, could have been behind him. I don't know. But I think he'd have been thereabouts. And I just think that I think that 7-2 is a fair price on him. Like he's a lot of class. He's the classiest horse in the race, really. And like jumps really well, travels normally fairly well. And I just think that that sort of question mark over him there, that like he's, I think he'd have gone very close anyway in the Gold Cup. Like if you look back and watch the video, like he's no chance really. Like the race was finished after it.
I must watch it back, and I'm just thinking about here, and I've given this a lot of thought, even for the blog post and that I was trying to write up a bit there last night about it, and I've looked at it a lot, and I'm struggling with it big time. Like Brave Man's Game has been favourite now twice at Aintree. It blew up there last year. Was second the year before that, but he's a beaten favourite twice there, and he's had a very tough race. Now I'm back looking at it, horses who do in the past, horses who have ran well in Gold Cups have been able to turn it around and win this. But then again, his entry form isn't great. Conflated again. He loved that 3 mile on nice ground. A Plutarda probably. I can see your point, but I'd probably be happy enough to leave him off. Shishkin could possibly be the one. You know, like he was coming home very well there at Cheltenham, coming home like a train very strongly. You know, on ratings, he's right up there, you know. And then you've Ahoy Senor as well. Derek Fox not being there is a bit of a loss for him, because he can be such a tricky ride. But at this stage, I'd probably give a very hesitant vote towards Shishkin, but I'll definitely be giving it more thought before I put it in writing. Yeah,
I would say one thing about Shishkin and going back to Brave Man's Game as well. Like they went very slow in the Ryanair. It was a steady enough run race. And Shishkin does tend to miss a few as well. The one thing about a high senior is he's going to get on with it. Brave Man's Game will be prominent as well. So like there'll be a good bit of pace in this. Like even though it's 5 furlongs further than the Ryanair, there'll be a lot of pace on it, and I think Shishkin's jumping might not stand up in it. And like I just go back to the way he hit the third last in Cheltenham, like that has to have left some sort of mark on him, and I wouldn't like to go back on him here at 5-2 just because that I know he stayed on, but like that hurts horses like that. That's sore doing that, like you know.
Yeah, look, so, it's a puzzle anyway. That's the way I see it, and I need to get my head around it.
Shishkin is I think it could be a King George winner this Christmas, like, and I wouldn't fancy him here, to be honest. Though a Brave Man's Game had excuses last year. In Aintree, he was riddled with ulcers, so I think that's fair enough to write off that run. Yeah. To write off that run. And in fairness, the year before he had a very hard race in Cheltenham, and then he
had a very hard race too this time around.
Yeah, and he got beaten by Ahoy Senor, who's a very good horse as well. So like I wouldn't say his form at Aintree is a cause of concern, but yeah, the hard run there is it. But yeah, I think a Plutard has a great chance, to be honest. The way he travelled into the race, and the fact that he was hampered and just pulled up then, and he hasn't had to have the exertions of that sort of final half mile in the Gold Cup. Maybe that might help him.
Yeah. Okay, we'll move on from that anyway. And then we're on to a pretty straightforward race, one would imagine. Constitution Hill stepping up in trip. You'd have to think it's going to be no issue at all to him. Epatante there as well, Zana here, Sharjah, they're all huge prices. I don't know what to ask you, Cillian, to ask you who comes second, or does he win by over or under 10 lengths? But whatever we'll do, we'll keep it brief. First of all, over or under 10 lengths?
Yeah, over.
I go over as well. And in one word, who comes second?
Zana here.
Yeah, I'd probably go Zana.
Maybe Score Royale. I think Score Royale could be third.
Yeah.
I really fancy Zana here to follow him in, though. Yeah.
Yeah, Epatante is the wrong second favourite. If she's still second favourite, Mayo.
She's there in front of me now. Yeah,
she's the wrong second favourite after that run at Cheltenham.
Yeah.
Moving on then, the Foxhunters. Do you have a strong opinion on this? They're always very tricky to figure out.
there, yeah, but I think it's a big day for Christie. He's it's his last chance saloon, really, isn't it? Like Vossele
Yeah,
beat at Cheltenham, Ferns Lock beat at Ferryhouse, Winged Leader is the last one really there, isn't it?
yeah,
And like if he fails to win, it's a complete busted flush, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. It is.
Well,
I looked at this a nice bit,
hmm.
and I sort of landed on two. Now, one, I don't know how keen I am on him, so I don't even know if I'm going to mention him. But Dente de Zabo, trained by Patrick Turley, won extremely well at Thurles last time out, in a maiden hunter's chase by 22 lengths, on yield into soft ground. Looking at his form, he'll be happy enough if it's good ground as well. He's a nice price there, Cillian. You might have odds checker open.
Yeah,
He might be able
20 to 1.
yeah, 20 to 1. And he's the type of horse there for, we say, an unfashionable trainer. He's hardly going to be getting huge money over the next few days, so he could drift
No.
out a bit more. And I just think his overall form is quite impressive. And I watched back that Thurles race, jump very well, and like it wasn't even hands and heels. The jockey barely moved on him. Declan Lavery riding two, very good man in the saddle at a nice price. That's probably the one that I'll be siding with there. The other, I'll give him a quick mention. Benny's King. John Dawson rides for Dan Skelton. He's a 12-year-old now, very classy in the past, but again, since he had a short break there, back towards the start of the year, he's come back and he's been very impressive. Really, he's won 2 of his 3 starts, and on the other start he unseated his rider, and he was prominent. He was probably going to win it that day. So look, particularly Dento does a bow at a nice price in races that can throw up big priced winners. That's where I'd be looking.
Yeah, I think I've won the horse that won last year, Late Night Pass.
Yeah.
He's short, he's 5 to 1. But he's identical prep to last year. Ran in December. Went in. I can't see the names here. I don't know. It was some random point to point course over in England, but he went to the same race basically for the last twice. And the only defeat he's had this season was to Shantou Flyer. Shantou Flyer was he third in Cheltenham. That was over 3 miles. Shantou Flyer actually won today in Exeter as well. Shantou Flyer was third in Cheltenham. He's probably a stronger stayer than this lad over 3 miles on softer ground. But like remember, this is 2 mile 5 as well. It's not a 3 mile hunter's chase. So I give Late Night Pass a good chance, but I think it's a big one for Barry O'Neill here too. Like they really need to win this, or the hunter's chase program up there is in a bit of bother.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on from that there then, Cillian. Next race on the card, second last race of the day, a 2 mile handicap chase, the Red Rum handicap chase, a Premier Handicap, always a smashing race to watch. Top of the market here, we've Third Time Lucky at about 7 to 2, and Douglas Talking there is about 11 to 2. Douglas Talking, just keeping it short and sweet for myself anyway, he's the one I like. He got a wind surgery there back in December, and since he's come back from that, he's had 2 huge margin successes. One at here by 8 lengths and one at Sandown by 13 lengths. And just as easy as you like. He won by 13 lengths the last day only. He's after getting a 10-pound hike in the weights, and he just won very impressively. I think he could have an amount of improvement in him. He could definitely have another win. He's only a 7-year-old. 8 chase starts and 5 wins, I think, speaks for itself. So that's definitely where I'm looking. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think Dancing on My Own would have a chance. He was seconded last year, up 3 pounds. But I'm actually going to go with the other Henry Romid horse, Defan. He's 20 to 1. I think I was sort of looking at ones that have the ground is looking to be a bit sort of on the good side of on the better side, I suppose. And he's some very good form on good ground. His best ever run over fences was on good ground in Ballinrobe last year off a mark of 119. He's up to, I think, 134 now, but he had a nice quiet run there the last day. I think this has been the plan for a good while. That was on soft. He was beaten 14 lengths, and he got a nice enough, quiet enough race there. So I think this has been the plan for a while now with him. So I think
Okay.
he's a good price at 20-1, and Henry's a good record in the race as well. Moon over Germany won it in 2019.
Did he?
And then danced on my own second last year then as well.
Okay, that's a nice angle, all right. And then to finish off the day, Cillian, I think everybody knows my stance on bumpers. Really, I don't never give them too much thought. So again, take it away there. I think you've won. You fancy, do you?
I do, yeah. It's some rain that's making here actually. It wouldn't be good if it was out in Aintree for some of the good ground horses I'm going back in. Yeah, a July Flower, she's called, 4-year-old filly. It's the grade 2 for fillies here. She won a Group 1 bumper over a mile 5 on bottomless ground, really, and over in Fontainebleau last November. It was the same bumper Irish Point won the year before. And he's obviously ran well in a lot of grade 1s this year. But yeah, she's short. She's 5-1. I suppose the bookies haven't missed the fact that she's some very good form in behind. She's won her 2 starts in France. I'm not sure what was paid for her, but I led to believe she's fairly nice, and she's getting the £8 as well from the favourite being the 4-year-old. So be interesting to see how she goes. But she was 6-1 there, and Sky Bet had a couple of quid in her, so hopefully she runs well.
Okay, and then straight on to Friday. We start off with a 3 mile, 1 furlong grade 1 chase. 2 Robcour horses at the top of the market. We've got Jerry Cologne, who obviously finished extremely strongly there at Cheltenham and was probably an unlucky loser. And then Journey with Me as well, very high in the betting for Henry de Bromhead, who bet Limerick Lace last time out at Naas by 3 lengths. The 2 of them pulled well clear of third. In behind that, you have Braun, who ran a big race at a huge price last time out. He's probably too big of a price the last time, Cillian, wasn't he? Considering the way his form tied in with Jerry Cologne, he's 50.
Yeah. No, he was a fair price that day. Now,
yeah.
And
then below that,
you have this time, I suppose.
Yeah, below that, then you've got the likes of Galia des Lateaux, and the ground you'd imagine won't be suiting her. Does it look like one for Robcour?
Yeah, I think Jerry Cologne is the runner here. It's assuming the ground doesn't get too good. Yeah, he'd have a right chance. Like you'd maybe think that the course at Aintree had suit him a bit better than the old course at Cheltenham as well. It's a small bit more of a galloping track. It's tight in Cheltenham, and I suppose he was coming there, and he wasn't really stopping as he got up to the line. So you'd imagine he'd have a good chance. He's clear on ratings by £4 to Braun. So you'd imagine he'd confirm form with Braun there. I think he's a better horse than him. And then I suppose looking down, like as you said, Galia de Lateaux getting £7, bring her up to 153, but she needs a sort of fairly soft for her now as well. And she's coming off a very hard race as well in that RSA. But yeah, I think Jerry Cologne should be the one there. He's a good price. He's a decent price, 7-4 as well. Yeah.
Okay. I won't disagree with you. We'll move on to a lovely handicap hurdle, 2.5 mile handicap hurdle. The comp round is interesting at the top of it, but I don't know, he went up £5 for finishing third the last day. It's a nice rise. I know the ground didn't suit him that, but £5 was a lot, I felt. Now I suppose he was eased in the weights a nice bit before that, but still it was a lot, and I'd probably be happy enough to take him on. 2 that stand out here to me are Springwell Bay for John Joe O'Neill and No Ordinary Joe for Nicky Henderson. No Ordinary Joe was second behind Oroco. Oroco is a horse I love, and I say that could be quite good form. And Oroca's a horse to follow next year, I would imagine. But that was nice form. The ground will suit him, and he probably had a bit up his sleeve there the last day. I'm just looking to see what exactly he got risen in the weights. Again, yeah, he's got £4, but unlike Comprant, he's a lot less unexposed. And Springwell Bay then for John Joe O'Neill, just to follow that up, again, last 2 starts, the last day he only won by a length and about a length or 2. As for watching it back, it's a lovely little ride by John Joe O'Neill. He just he's sitting very still, we'll say, the whole way, and just gives him a tiny little squeeze after the last, and he could have won by 20 lengths, I'd say. Now again, he's only gone up £3 for that. That doesn't make sense.
That was a novice hurdle. There wasn't
Okay.
a handicap.
Yeah, grand. Yeah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. So, but prior to that, again, another nice win in Novices Hurdle. So they'd be the two that I'd be looking into more detail over the next few days.
Yeah, I said Buddy won on the podcast yesterday. If you want to listen to that, you can go back and listen to that. I'm not going through it again.
Okay. Following on from that, then we've Grade 1 2 mile Novices Hurdle, found a 50, 5-1 in the pocket, 5-1. Lucia 11-2, couldn't really be having her. You wear it well, then a bigger price again. You're probably looking at the JP McManus silks, are you?
I am, yeah. I get drawn to them, don't you? Yeah, I think
Well, I think it's the Henry de Bromhead part you get drawn to.
I know I get drawn to good horses. Like, yeah, I think he ran a very good race in Cheltenham on soft ground. Yeah, he probably does want it. Probably wants a bit of cutting it. So I don't know, is he going to run if it is as good as they say it is? But yeah, I don't like found a 50 over 2 miles. Like, he got beat by a 3 miler, in out battled in Naas on like, it wasn't even, it was a yielding ground. Like, it wasn't as if it was soft or anything. Lucia's her profile is gone down a bit since she was beaten in the mayor's race. You wear it well, yeah. You wear it well could be the one, really. But I'm not fully sure. I wouldn't have any strong opinion if in the pocket doesn't run. Like, I wouldn't like to back him on better ground anyway.
Yeah, it's again, I suppose we don't have the declarations, and that's a small bit trickier.
Yeah.
The found a 50 form has taken a bit of a hit too. I would have thought Parmenion would have went and won at the weekend. Found a 50, bet him very handsomely in his maiden hurdle, but Parmenion probably disappointed a small bit there. In the pockets, had a tough race. I'm going to wait for declarations. There could be something interesting there at a bigger price, because a few of them up around the top of the betting, I'm not sure if you could be convinced about them.
Yeah, I like Kerry Lee's horse, Neminian Line. Like, probably go all right on that sort of good to soft kind of ground as well. Won in Kelso the weekend before Cheltenham as well, so won that grade 2. Yeah, he's a nice horse. He's about 16-1, but I don't know, is he running or anything?
Yeah, okay. And then another grade 1, the Marsh Chase over 2.5 miles. Up towards the top of the betting here, you've picked Dory, Fakir Dudery, who I reckon goes and wins it for the 3rd year in a row. Hitman. Bit further down, French Dynamite is a big price for Mouse Morris. It'd be nice to see him win a grade 1.
It would, yeah. He's captain of our 10 to follow as well. So
He is.
yeah, he's into about 8s now. I think he was
he?
a bigger price last
Racing
night.
Post is quite behind. Go on.
Yeah, he was. I think he was 14s and 16s last night. Yeah, I don't like Fakir Dudery at all. I think it's like, if you look at his first run of the season, Lifetime Ambition is quite close to him. Like, Lifetime Ambition's a limited enough handicapper, to be honest. Like, at that sort of level, he wouldn't be able to sort of make it in grade 2s and grade 1s. Like, he beat French Dynamite in Thurles, so the race sort of fell in his lap more than anything else. French Dynamite made a couple of bad mistakes the last 2 and got hampered by the faller then at the last as well. But yeah, the run behind Shishkin was horrendous, really. I know he skipped Cheltenham, but
Yeah,
I couldn't have him really at 9-4. I think French Dynamite has a serious chance, all right, yeah. I don't like anything else down the betting at all, really. But yeah, I think French Dynamite's a good each way bet. You get 3 places there now. There's 9 at the moment, so 4 to 8-1 there. He's a nice price.
Yeah, there'll surely be less than 80. I'd imagine it'll be 7 probably.
Yeah,
surely a few of them will come out. And from that, then we've got the Topham Handicap Chase, another smashing handicap Ashtown lad, who ran well over them fences earlier on in the year. I think, if my memory serves me correctly.
Did you won the beacher?
Exactly, yeah, is top of the betting there. Again, it's a race that's going to need a lot of looking into. I don't know if you've had a chance to dissect it. I know I haven't.
Yeah, there's one I sort of like stupidly way down the field. It's called Hardline. Gordon Elliott trains him. He's an ex-Chickenstown horse, and now in the colours of Bronson Racing. Ran in the cross country in Cheltenham, well beaten, 150 lengths. But if you go back to I suppose you're going back a while. He's put in some good runs here and there. A grade 2 in Goran in February last year, he's beaten 10 lengths by Mellon. Like he's been eased an awful lot down the weights. He was rated 155 that day. He's now down to 137. I had a good few quid in him in the Blazers in Galway last year. He was a big price that day. He unseated, and the horse came home. I know Jack Kennedy wasn't on his back, but he was the first horse past the line. Or like she might have been. I think Gabby's, was he the second horse? I think he was in front of Gabby's cross that day. Now I know that's like it's different when you're not carrying like 11 stone, but like he showed a lot of enthusiasm that day. He's run well in a lot of point to points. He won his first one, was third to Brain Power, second to January Jet, second to Brain Power, won again, and then went to Punchestown to the cross country in February and came sixth. Ran fairly well that day in Gordon's colours. Yeah, I think he could run well at 50 to 1. Yeah.
Huge price. Again, I'm going to need a bit more time to look at that before I put pen to paper anyway, in terms of the blog. But moving on from that, then the 440, another grade 1. It's a savage amount of grade 1s really. Now they're a bit weaker grade 1s than what we might have had earlier on in the year. But still they're fascinating races. And Iroko here stepping up in trip. If you watch back that race, when he won at Cheltenham, just the way he stuck his head out after the last, stuck the neck out and just stayed going, like, he loved that battle. That was over 2 mile 4. He step up now to 3 miles. He's got a bit to find there in Hermes Allen, but he very much disappointed. Last time out at Cheltenham. I think Iroko is going to be a really class horse. Or else he's going to be at least a top level handicapper, and just his attitude, I love it. And he's my one here, definitely.
Yeah, I think Hermes Allen is hard to back him, even though he's gone up and trip, and that will suit. After Cheltenham, he had a very hard race. He was, like as Harry Cobden said, tactics beat him, really, didn't it? He was taken on for the lead, and he never really enjoyed himself. Stay Away Faye goes to Punchestown, if you're to believe Paul Nichols. Maximilian has had beat Stay Away Faye in Doncaster. I don't know. I think Stay Away Faye is potentially a lucky winner of the Bartlett more than anything else. I do agree with you on Iroko. I think he's a great chance. The only thing is that Banbridge did this last year, stepped up to 3 miles after winning the Pipe cosily enough, and completely bombed. I think it is tight enough between them.
Different heart, yeah. I don't know.
Different horses. Tight enough between them.
Yeah, but Banbridge has proven that he's a 2 mile to 2.5 miler in terms of he won a nice 2 mile chase there at Cheltenham earlier on in the year. This fella is definitely one to be one up and trip in my book.
That's fair enough. I agree with you. I like Absolute Notions. I think he's on better ground. I think he's got a serious chance. He's only a length and a half behind Goodlands, closing all the way to the line that day too. Very good when he won his maiden hurdle as well, beating Deep Cave. I know he probably ran a bit below his form the last day, but is a very good horse as well. So I think he's the juice has sort of gone out of the price there. He was 6s yesterday and this morning, but he's 3 to 1 now. But I think he'd have a right good chance as well. Better ground is the key there. I think he'll handle it, whereas some of the others might not.
Yeah, okay. That's fair enough. We'll move straight on to Saturday. So we start off there with a nice 2 mile grade 1 chase. Is there anything to take on John Bon with, or does he just go and win?
Can I just go back to Friday for 1 second?
Do you have another one for the final race?
The last race, yeah.
Okay, go on.
There's a Conditional Jockeys handicap. I'm not sure if he'll get in or not. It's max 22 and he's number 29. It's called a Soul Icon, a 6-year-old for Kieran Burke. Harry Kimber is already jocked up to ride him. He's won his last 5 races, gone from a mark of 86 to 127. Just the way he's off since October when he won in Cheltenham. I think that the good ground is a big key for him. I'm not sure, is there a price for it? 1 second now.
I don't think there is.
No, there isn't. But is there a price?
There's not, no.
No, there isn't. But I don't know if he gets in, I think he'd have a serious chance. He's very progressive horse, only 6. Harry Kimber is as good a conditional jockey as there is over in England as well. Claiming 3. So he's carrying 10 stone 5 if Napper's Hill stays in it, and like Nichols tends to sort of run them horses in the sort of high class horses and handicaps. To be hoping he'd stay in. You're in off 10 stone 5, taking off 3, hopefully. I think he'd have a good chance.
Okay. Okay, very good. We'll move on to Saturday. So, and we start off with again our 2 mile Grade 1 chase for novices. We've no prices for this either, Cillian. But I can assure you, John Bon will be the top of that market. On ratings, he's well clear. Banbridge is second on ratings, 152. He won't be here not long till May for Laura Morgan. Probably won't be here either. Has a rating of 152, but that's based off form over further. Saint-Ouen, again, won't be here. Solo is going to be the next one at 147.
Yeah, is Laura Morgan's horse not going now?
I don't think so. I doubt it.
Oh, fair enough.
I don't think he looks the kind of horse that needs a step back and trip.
I suppose they're pretty shrewd owners. They might just go back and trip to pick up prize money, like as well. Like I'd say
but
he'd be second to John Bon if he wanted.
Could
like,
he?
He would, yeah. He races up along the pace as well, so he's a pretty good jumper. So I'd say he'd he was up the box all the way around and in the turners as well. So I'd say he'd have no problem going back to 2 miles.
If he's 152 rated over 2.5, he's lower than that anyway, over 2 mile.
Might be, yeah. I don't know, but he won't beat John Bon. John Bon will win 1 to 3, 1 to 4.
Yeah. Okay. We're in agreement there. So, and then we move on to another Premier Handicap. We've got Good Time Johnny here towards the top of the betting. And he finished very well the last stake. Would he follow up?
£5. £5 he got. How far did he win by? 3 1/4 lengths.
And he got £5.
Yeah. And you're letting one of the most dangerous men for landing handicaps away with £5. If they want to win, he'll win this. Simple as that.
You reckon?
Yeah. Simple as that. Like, I know he
was outpaced the last day though, and he stayed on. He's not as straightforward maybe as
he's not, but he carried a big weight last day. He'd 11 stone 4, and Liam McKenna took off 5, so he's 12 stone this time. Liam McKenna's taken off 5, so like it's not as if he went from carrying 10.5 stone up to 12 stone. So I think if it's as simple as if they want him to win, he'll win.
Yeah. The one I'd be looking at a bit further down, again, we don't know if these are going to be declared or not, but Landrake was meant to run at Fairhouse at the weekend, and I fancied him for that, and he's entered here again. He's about 12 to 1. He'll have Michael O'Sullivan on him, I'm sure, probably taking off 5. Another one who showed a savage attitude in defeat. Last time he was passed, he was a sitting duck there really for one of Henry de Bromhead's. And once he was passed, he stayed battling on. You thought for a couple of strikes he was actually going to get back up in front, and that was over a shorter trip, 2 miles 6, I think it was that day. So at this early stage, that's definitely one that I'd be looking at.
Yeah, I'm not sure. He was withdrawn on vet's advice on Saturday.
What's that?
So maybe he mightn't even be running. He mightn't even travel over, but
okay,
he'd have a good chance if he does run, doesn't it? Wouldn't he?
He would, yeah. He's got £5 there from the British handicapper, but
yeah,
I wouldn't mind that. He's probably got that in the hand, you'd imagine.
Yeah.
And then we've another Grade 1 here, the Turner's Novices Hurdle. It's hard to know what's going to turn up here. Hermes Allen, you'd imagine, won't. In the Pocket might. Could Irish Point turn up?
Yeah, soft ground, I'd say. Probably want there.
Yeah.
I suppose the Dublin Racing Festival, he was under a bit of pressure on that better ground. So I'd say he'd probably want it fairly soft to run.
Yeah, I'd say that could be a quite weak race.
It could be a very weak race, yeah. Like in the Pocket, yeah. I'd say the preference is probably the 2 mile race. But
is this the one that Belfast Banter won?
No,
He won the
Belfast
2 mile.
Banter
He won
won
the
the
2
2
mile,
mile.
didn't he?
Yeah. Belfast
Yeah.
Banter won the 2 mile, but like I'd assume the preference is for the 2 mile. I'd say for in the pocket, but he could end up here if the ground is a bit slower on the Saturday. So that's one to take away. Hermes Allen won't run. You wear it well. I'm sure she could step back up and trip. She won well in Sandown. She'd be a danger, I suppose, on at 6-1. If she did
Yeah.
run, she'd have a good chance getting £7. She'd be nearly weighted. She's weighted the same then as in the pocket, so she'd have a good chance.
Yeah. And then we've got the Liverpool Hurdle, over 3 miles, Tupu, Marie's Rock, Floor and Porter. It's a very good race. Depending on what turns up, I'd imagine most of them will turn up. You've Dashel Drescher even a small bit down. I wonder how Tupu and Dashel Drescher will get on against each other this time.
Yeah.
I'd imagine there should only be one winner there.
Yeah. There should be, like, it was a result that shouldn't have been changed by the independent panel anyway. I won't get into it, but
No.
yeah, I'd say Chupa with a clear run will beat him. Depends if Dashel Drescher and Rex decide to go trying to do that again. But yeah, I don't really know where to land in it. It's a tough enough race.
Yeah.
To look at. Like, Chupa is going to need it probably soft. Like most of his races. So that'll be, if it was better ground and there isn't an awful lot of rain forecast, it might be a negative for him. Yeah, it's hard to know. Champ is coming fresh, but Jesus, like, you can't back Champ.
No,
like,
you couldn't. No, you
absolutely couldn't back Champ.
No.
His best form is when he has had a break. Like, he came out and he beat Time Hill in the long walk last year off a 260-day break, and then like he beat Paisley Park off a 230-day break. But like, geez, you'd want to beat in Paisley Park, like, really, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but
And he was
another one
hammered by him the last day.
Could you go on back Murray's Rock?
No,
not after the last round. No, back up and trip, and that will suit her. But after the last day, a mare like that too, you couldn't. It's another one maybe that could throw up.
I suppose Sire de Burley won the race last year, beating Flora and Porter after getting hammered in the pretemps. They pulled a mile clear champ in third that day. Like, can Sire de Burley beat Flora and Porter again? I don't see why not. Maybe you could back him each way, but like,
he can beat Flora and Porter, and
yeah, like, I don't know.
I
Be no
think
bet for me unless there was soft ground.
Yeah. I think that if they don't go a savage clip, that certainly won't be suiting Sire de Burley.
No.
They'll want to be going very hard. Will they be going very hard? Fair chance of it with that Flora and Porter there, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, he might just say today's the day I'm going to go stupid fast again.
yeah, pretty much like what he did the last day. Set it up for Sire de Burley, really. But move on from that there, then we've a 3 mile handicap chase, Phlegmatic, Nassalam. Nassalam I really liked for Cheltenham there a couple of weeks ago, but just didn't produce on the day. I still think he's got a big race in him. The better ground will probably seem to better effect. But he's had a tough race. Chemical energy there as well, obviously won't be turning up. Have you looked at that in detail, Cillian?
No, it's no time. Wouldn't bother.
No time. Yeah. But like, once you see, the thing is, once you get the declarations for these, that's the time to be looking at them in more detail. You'll have your selections there up on Twitter.
Yeah.
Just like myself over the next few days. And then we're on to the big one. The final race that we're going to preview here, the Aintree Grand National. Talk to me.
As usual, it's a minefield. So I think we might give 3 each, maybe.
Okay.
Okay. So my first one is it's carefully selected. I think he ran very well to win the Thyestes on softer, heavy ground. Now, probably wanted to rain a little bit to see him to best effect, but yeah, he ran very well that day. He was way out on the outside as well, so that didn't help him either. But yeah, he ran well that day. I think he got how much for that? £8. He's up to 156 now, carrying 11 stone. But he's obviously high class horse. Like, he was third to Manella in Dona Grade 1. over hurdles. Alaho second in that, like only beaten 3 lengths that day. Very good chaser as well. One grade, 2 grade 3s before unseating when well beaten in the 4-miler. And then he obviously missed an awful lot of time. He was off the track 2.5, 3 years almost. But he's came back and he's looked to, like, he ran really well behind Kimby and the Bobby Joe the last day. I thought it was a very good sort of prep run for this. And so he's a fair enough price at 25-1. I'd like to see who gets up on him first before I back him.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
We'll see about after that. But yeah, I think he'd have a good chance.
Yeah. So the first one that I like, I'll only mention him very briefly because I said a nice bit on him on yesterday's podcast. But Le Milas, the form of the Coral Gold Cup there at Newbury, back towards the end of last year, is rock solid. Remastered in second. Le Milas won it, remastered in second. Won next time out. The third horse hasn't run since. Fourth, Cork Rambler, won next time out. Fifth, Bustleton, quite poor at Fairyhouse, but again, that was a ground issue. He has a big day in him again, I'd reckon. And sixth, Ansam, won next time out. So, you have 3 horses there in it who went and won next time out, and Le Milas is still quite young and improving. He had a sort of a break, a 100-day break almost, and he came back at Kelso when he was bet a length by Empire Steel, but Dan Skelton has come out and said that he was probably fitter than the horse that day, so you can imagine what sort of shape that horse is in.
That was a good one. Did Dan actually say he was?
He did, yeah. Dan said he was fitter than the horse that day.
Christ.
Yeah. Onto yourself, Cillian. Give us another one.
Our Power. Sort of, I like a profile of horses that are quick enough to sort of do it over shorter distances as well. Like, obviously you need to be able to stay, but you need to have a turn of foot as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought there was a lot to like about Our Power since he stepped up to 3 miles. In February last year, he was third in the Coral Trophy in Kempton, with 5th behind Cork Rambler in the Ultima. Then the form this season, he's won twice. Then beat Danny Kerwin and Ascot in a Group 3 handicap. And then won that Coral Trophy by a neck from Phlegmatic. 2 of them pulled well clear that day as well in Kempton. He's off a mark of 147. Nice weight, 10 stone. Sam Twiston Davis has jocked up on him. He's a very good jockey, so that's a plus as well. So I think he could run a big race, and a shout out to John Hennessy. He actually bred the horse there as well. John's a good supporter of ours. He's always sort of commenting and stuff there on Twitter, and
yeah, a friend of the podcast. Our Power, actually, I had him in my tree as well. So I won't repeat any of what you said there, and I'm going to move on.
Hopefully he wins well anyway.
Exactly, yeah. Please God, the third horse that I like is Lifetime Ambition. For Jessie Harrington. She's had a nice few runners in the race in recent years who have gone quite close. This horse obviously ran in the Grand Sefton back in November, was bet 8 lengths to Al Dancer, but showed a real liking for the fences and for the course that day. Has been running reasonably well in a lot of big staying handicap chases. Horse goes well on this ground at this time of year, and I just think that Jessie Harrington could be due a win in this race.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. And then my last one with a hat tip to Gabby's Cross before I won't actually say him, but Longhouse Port is my last one. He was 6th in the race last year. He's had a fairly soft campaign really since then. Pulled up in a Pertemps qualifier, won a Conditions Hurdle down in Limerick then, over 2.5 miles, well beaten in the Red Mills, unseated in the Bobby Joe. Probably not an ideal prep there. He fell at the first, and he went up to Down Royal and beat Roy Mage by half a length or length and a half there, over 3 miles too on St. Patrick's Day. He's the same mark as he was last year. There's a lot to like about him there. He's 14-1. He's obviously takes to the fence as well, so I think hopefully he should be bang there anyway. It's like the prep is as well as like the last run, I suppose, getting the win into him and stuff. It's no harm, so I think he could run well.
Okay, spot on, Cillian. So that's all from us. I hope you enjoyed listening to it. I'd be very interested to hear if you have any fancies at nice prices there. Let us know in the comments below. Again, keep an eye out on our Twitter page. Myself and Cillian will be posting there what we like the day before, the morning of the races, I suppose, just when we firm up some races that we probably haven't given a whole pile of thought to just yet, because it has been such a busy time of year. But again, let's just like, subscribe, make sure you like us on Twitter too. We're almost up to 2,000. We're about 5 likes away from 2,000 followers on that, which is quite good going, considering we started the page in about November, I think, was it?
Yeah, November 12 into October, November, yeah.
Okay. But look, the best to look anyway. Yeah, we'll see you next week. Good luck.
Thanks.
Vauban finds more now and kicks away and up the hill. Vauban wins the JCB Triumph Hurdle.
Round the home turn, Davy Russell decides to send presenting Percy on now. It's a beautiful straight 11 victories for Honeysuckle. She is the winner of the Unibet Champion Hurdle.
Heaven help us, runs riot to win the Coral Cup.
Manila Indo is all out, flat out, but he wins the Gold Cup.